So hi everyone, my name is Allison Suarez and I work at the Amundsen team at Lyft. And I'm going to talk a little bit about ML feature discovery in Amundsen. So we're going to go over a little bit of the background, the why of this project, what we define as like MVP for making features a primary entity in Amundsen, the way that data sets and dashboards are, and what future work we have in store as well. Keep in mind that a lot of the MVP has already been implemented and merged, except for the lineage tab that we'll cover later. So background. We have seen over time many proposals from the community, a couple RFCs as well, talking about indexing different parts of the ML project lifecycle, like models and metadata for models, training and deployment of models, versioning of models, feature metadata, and experiments and tracking experiments. So with that being said, these projects tend to be pretty complex. There's an overwhelming amount of entities and metadata that you could pull out from this. So we needed to pick a place to start, and we chose to start by indexing ML features in particular. Why did we want to do ML features first? Well, we discovered that feature engineering takes about 50% of the total model development time, at least at Lyft. And by allowing modelers to easily discover features that they can reuse, this could really significantly decrease the time that it would take for them to develop their models. And it also reduces the incidence of duplication of features, so people are not doing the same work over and over again. It's also relatively close to data discovery, so we didn't really have to reinvent the wheel. We can kind of reuse a lot of things that we have already for tables. And we can see a lot of the benefits from data discovery that are like transferable to feature discovery, such as being able to have to trust the data that you're using to train your models, or making sure that it's a quality feature given the usage and other metadata that we present to you. And it also benefits not only ML modelers, but data modelers, because aside from the reuse of features to train models, you also have the ability to discover the highest quality features to be able to derive new features from those features to begin with. So it also helps out with that. So yeah, that's the why of starting with features seemed like a logical first step for this, the integration of ML project entities. So what did we do for the first iteration of this? Keep in mind that the screenshots I'm using are from like the RFC. So if you've seen these before, that's why. But a lot of this is already implemented, and you can probably give it a test run yourself. So what metadata do we choose to index? First, obviously feature details. So version, feature group, name, owners, data type, source, last updated timestamp, the very basic things about a feature. And then we broke it down into 3 separate tabs that we want to start with. First, a data sample. So this is basically just similar to the preview feature in tables. It shows you a chunk of the data in that feature so that you can see what it looks like. Another thing that we wanted to focus on, because this was really important for us, was upstream lineage. So being able to see what tables this feature derived from. We want to get more specifically into column lineage at some point, but we start at just table level, so you can take a look at like, this was the table that this data came from. And this pairs really well with generation code, which is whatever code or query snippet was used to generate a certain feature. So if you say have the upstream lineage, you can see in the generation code maybe the columns that were selected to be able to derive this feature as well. So they kind of go hand in hand. Also in the RFC, you might have seen that
Hey, Allison.
What's up?
Good to see you. So how do you define features at Lyft? It's like, is this through SDK DSL, or yeah, how do you define as a feature, and how do you define the feature to table lineage?
Okay, so a feature is simply it's more akin to a column, right? Like a set of data that you use to train a model. And then the lineage is whatever tables, like we're using tables in this case, right? But you would maybe use like one or multiple columns to generate the data that's in the feature, right? And you would also, like, it could be in a particular time frame, and that's all additional metadata that we can add later on, but we don't have. I think date range was actually modeled in these mocks, so you probably see that as well. But basically, we wanted to take the tables that were used to create this particular feature, right? So that's the lineage, the upstream lineage. It's not because like before at Lyft, we used to index features as just like a table, and it looked like a table. And then from there, you could just say the upstream lineage of a feature would be that like pseudo table that we had, but we decided to just use the actual tables that data came from. I don't know if that makes sense. Sorry, I kind of went into a tangent there.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the mocks and see. I can point out what's been implemented and what hasn't been implemented, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm sorry, Allison.
Yes.
Yeah, my question is very basic, but I have to ask, otherwise I'm gonna miss a lot of things. So Amundsen only operates on SQL data, structured data?
No, and so that's why the tab is called generation code. It could be any data that you choose to index, right? So like if you have, let's say Hive tables, you can index those. If you have any other sort of data, you can, as long as you can feed it through data builder and create a job to extract the data and publish it to Neo4j or whatever your database is, it could be anything really. I don't know if Tal wants to elaborate on that.
Luis, if you're getting started with Amundsen, I can also offline later send you some videos that will help share perspective. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us as well.
That would be great, Mark.
All right, thank you. Allison, continue on.
So what did we implement for this version so far? The first thing is, as you can see in this view, on the homepage, when you're starting to search for something, you're gonna see the search bar expand and see the features section down at the bottom, underneath datasets and dashboards. So you can see the search results within the inline search. The next thing is adding features as a resource. So you can see it shows up in the resource selector, as well as it has its own custom filters. So you can pick the source, the entity shown, the entity related to a given feature, the feature group, the feature name, tags, badges, etc. So pretty standard filters. And then on the list of features, you can see the feature name, the source of the feature, so where it's found. It can be one or multiple places depending on how your company stores features. You can see the badges and the related entity as well. So then moving into the feature details page, you can see here a lot of the pieces of metadata that I mentioned earlier on the left side panel. And then you have, in this one, we've shown 4 tabs, but we scoped it down to 3 tabs for the time being. So we have implemented sample, upstream, and generation code, with plans to have statistics be the next iteration. So here you can see the sample is just a table showing you the data, a bit of the data for the feature. Upstream it looks exactly the same as lineage for tables. And then generation code. Oh, apparently I did not include the generation code tab. The generation code is similar to how in dashboards you can see the SQL for a generated dashboard. So it's just a code snippet. Now I'm going to go into what we're planning for the future. So as I mentioned before, we are trying to implement a statistics tab, which will show you the statistics for features such as data distribution, usage, whatever stats you want to index. And it will support visualization of statistics in the form of graphs. So it would look something like this. As you can see, you have a histogram here showing you the distribution of the data, as well as a small table showing you other specific values, distinct values, etc. And we are also interested in indexing other feature metadata and entities, so including machine learning models. That's work that still needs to be scoped out, but it was also like the next logical step and highly requested. So make those primary entities in Amundsen and then show the relationship between features and models as downstream lineage. So you can show what models are using which features. And yeah, that's basically it for future plans right now. Thank you. Any questions?
Hello, yeah. I have a question regarding the visualization. So as far as I understand, I send to Amundsen the statistics like as values and it being visualized automatically, or do I like send it as a markdown, or how it works?
Sorry, I didn't quite understand your question. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so regarding the visualization part for the statistics feature, so if you can like dig deep a little deeper on how it works.
So we haven't implemented that part yet. We're still like, we still have to think about how exactly we want to surface it, but it's probably going to be like a stats entity that you can, let's say on Neo4j would be a node that's related to the feature, and it would have probably like a value field, a name field, etc. And you would have to ingest it the way that you do any other piece of metadata, but still not sure on the details of the implementation for that.
Yeah, most likely it's going to be a histogram. So we're going to have to send in, a bunch of data, and then we'll take that formatted data and then put it into D3 or something.
Okay. Would it be possible like to configure the graphs or just pre-built? And yeah.
We haven't decided really how much customization we want to allow on that feature yet. So we haven't started building it yet. So that's something to think about.
Okay.
Hey, questions. So I recall like you have the versions for the features. How do you surface the versions in this case? Like for example, for the same set of features, like if you have different versions, how do you surface and how to clean up if the version is stale or no longer apply?
Great question. So we still haven't like, we run an ETL to like publish all of our data, and we also have tasks to remove stale data. We still haven't created the task to remove our stale data, so we are not sure of the criteria for that. As far as versioning goes, we surface like 2 different versions of the same feature as just 2 different features in Amundsen. So the key for a feature is a combination of the feature group, the feature name, and the feature version. And if there's, let's say, test feature group / test feature name /1, that's 1 feature, and then test feature group, test feature name /2 is another feature. So
how do you so how do you define as a feature that is stale? I guess is my question. It's like, for example, if for a table, if it's stale because you delete that from a high meta store, or dashboard if you delete it. So for a feature, how do you define it is a deleted feature or stale features?
So right now we are like sourcing all of our metadata from just a Hive table given by a different team that works with like features and like the data prep team basically. And they're feeding us all the data. So like, I assume the cleanup would be if this data hasn't shown up in the table in a while, and the created timestamp is a certain timestamp, that we would just want to remove those from Amundsen.
I see. So you're also showing like there's some online feature in DynamoDB. It's like, do you also store another copy in Dynamo or DynamoDB as well for the features?
I'm not, I know that we can, right now we support like indexing from any source, but I am not sure how the data prep team handles that.
I see. Got it. Thanks.
Nirav asked a few questions on chat, so I want to give him the opportunity to ask those as well. Nirav, do you want to ask yours?
Yeah. So the statistics page, which is you're planning to develop in a future, that would be only limited to the features, or it would be extended to the tables as well?
I think it would be good if we could make it more general. That's part of the reason why I think this would take a little bit longer than we wanted to for MVP. But that's a really good suggestion. We can definitely try to accommodate so we can make the tab optional for both, because there shouldn't be that much of a difference, right?
Yeah. And the other question is, do you have any plan to add some sample test data to explore how the ML features works in Amundsen?
We can certainly add, yeah, we can certainly add something to the sample app when we get the chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hey, I may miss that part. So what is statistic page? It's like that's showing some feature statistic or something.
Yeah, it would be something like this. It's just trying to show some like basic stats on your data for a given feature.
I see.
Any other questions?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, not only the like directly on the features, but I'm seeing that you have developed another features as well, which is like owner tag and the user tag. So it's a kind of side question. So is it also like part of the like feature development in the future?
Sorry, I'm not sure what the question was and how it related to owner tags and user tags. Can you?
I think we decided to cut the owner tags from our MVP, but it is something that is on a roadmap to implement eventually.
Okay, yeah, I think that is answer to the question. Thank you.
It's like they're like halfway between badges and tags, right? So these are tags that are only editable by the owner. Potentially, it's something we could add for other resources as well. But
we've been thinking about this too, because like we didn't want to just like implement something that like changed the nature of how we use tags or replaces badges either. So like I think there's still like some design that can be done on there too.
Okay, thank you.
I had one question, Allison. Have you launched this to the users within Lyft, and what's some of the feedback you've gotten thus far?
We just deployed yesterday.
Okay, so maybe another time in the future.
It's been a busy couple of weeks, but so far I know that like there was a small demo done and we've gotten really good feedback, especially on the tabs like generation code. People seem to like a lot, and yeah, I'm assuming that we're going to keep getting more and more feedback now that we've rolled it out to production, just to see how people like it so far. So we'll definitely come back with findings and iterate as we get more and more feedback.
Yeah, I think historically the ML modelers have been underserved, especially by Amundsen. What they've been doing, for example, at Lyft, is they have their tables that they are actually the feature tables, and then they've been tagging them as features manually or programmatically. And you just see like there's this one tag with 400 tables in it. They're all features. So this is like 100 times better than that.
Oh, I recall that one. Okay. Yeah. So my question actually is like, so based on my understanding at Lyft, it's like not only they have like the features stored in Dynamo and then they replicate as a Hive table. That's why it show up like those things like Daniel mentions. They also store feature in Elasticsearch, if I recall. But that is part of the ML team, not from the data prep team. It's like, have you did you look into that, or you primarily work with like Arup and data prep on these projects?
Yeah, for this iteration, we've been working mostly with just Arup and data prep, and they've been like, don't worry about where the data is coming from. Just know that it is all in this table, and you're going to index it. So we've been very far removed from the actual like ML team side of things. We're just indexing whatever data they give us.
Cool. Any other questions for Allison and the Lyft team? Sounds like no. Thank you for presenting. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, everyone.